We're going.
Here we go, y'all. Mob Troop Tales with Big Jimmy, one of my best friends. He's here, and this is the second episode. We took a break because we didn't know if we was gonna continue doing this, but I feel like it's a good thing. People asked about it, and people are looking for it. Here's Big Jimmy, a fucking talented guy, a guy who knows basically everything that I that I asked him. He knows about, and he's a fucking. Hey Jimmy, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Mook, man. I'm okay, we're all struggling right now, people having a hard time, man, and we're just dealing with it,
Sure.
I see things shutting down. I see the world shutting down a little bit, even though there is employment, but the jobs ain't fuck all nothing, they're just bullshit jobs, which is sad,
Yeah. So let's get into your past before we get into these mob troop tales. Because my boy Jimmy, he's out of Staten Island. That's Staten Island, New York, and he was a big restaurateur or whatever. He built a lot of restaurants. He dealt with a lot of people, so that's why he knows this information. So Jimmy,
well, that business, yeah, Mook, that business, the restaurant business is unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I want to get into how you came up, where you grew up, your upbringing before you became this fucking master carpentry, this master artist, this master fucking musician and everything else.
I had a hard time growing up because even when I was 5, 6 years old, my father had frustration in his heart. And I had to deal with that. I had to deal, and that's why you look at people and they judge you. They call me crazy. Oh, that guy's weird. Yeah, I'm eccentric. Became an artist, and I'll get to that point right away. But I left my house when I was 16 years old because I couldn't take my father anymore, but still never disrespected him. I'm the only son that never hit him. Do what he has to do, but I never raised my hand to him, never raised my voice to him. And again, no matter what he did to me, I still hold that in my heart.
What's the worst thing he did to you? What's the worst thing he did?
Probably spit on me constantly, calling me a goon, dork, moron, jackass, you're dumb, like spit at you.
God.
Threw me down the stairs a couple of times. My cousins would stay over, and my brother was making noise. I'm in a dead sleep, and the next minute, he's whipping the shit out of me. Smashed my only guitar that I saved money for.
Wait, no, you did something to get that. Now, he didn't just do that for nothing. Were you a good kid or a bad kid?
No, I was a good kid. My mother will tell you anytime I needed, I was up 6:30 in the morning loading the truck to go to work. No, my father was not a happy person. And again, he was mentally challenged with things. He had a really bad, I don't know what it was. My grandfather told me he used to hide in the closet when there was problems and things. And he was not, even being a veteran and a deep sea diver in the Korean War, a lot of times people
went through that. He went through probably a lot of trauma being a veteran.
Well, that's what, and again, and that's what I'm believing. That's what I want to believe because he was one of the first deep sea divers. He was there when the guy Lopez went 60 feet in the air and his whole body was compressed in his helmet. My father was supposed to do that test. But my father would dive down 300-400 feet in one of those metal masks and the helium and oxygen. And he said something brushed up against him, but that's a strange character because I don't know if you can do it. I know I can't do it. You ain't putting me in no deep sea diving suit and send me down 400 feet. I'm not doing it. But I really got to tell you, I hold in my heart to believe that maybe he had that problem, maybe that's what caused, it was only me and my sister. He really didn't do that to my other, the other siblings. He was basically, I'm the firstborn and it was my fault. My brother Vinny is very much like him. And that's another story I can tell you about the mob too with him. And, It's a true story. I don't ever talk to him anymore because
Well, we'll get into that on another
yeah,
episode.
we'll get into that in another
I
thing.
just
But
want to know about your upbringing before we get into the
yeah, so
Frankie, Calie.
I started studying karate. I started playing the guitar when I was 5 years old. And I loved it because it was the only thing that never hurt me, and it was the only thing that never answered me back. That's why I got so entrenched in it.
Yo, he's nice on the guitar. Let me tell y'all, he's insane. I ain't gonna lie with the guitar, like
But I fell in love with it, Mook. I played 8 hours a day. I went to school. I fought with kids in school because of my indifferences. I was very shallow. I'm an introvert. I didn't get into people. So people were like, oh, he's weird. But meanwhile, when I went to go play baseball or football, I was like a monster. Yeah. I was a monster on football. Forget it. So I started 8 years old, 9 years old. I was traumatized, and a karate teacher, Masuka, didn't charge me. He knew my emotion, and he said, hey, young kid, young man. He came to PS42 one day to do a demonstration. It was really interesting, introducing people to different things. And I actually fell in love with it. It was Wing Chun. It was my first style. And I stayed with it till I was 18 years old. But man, I did 5 years of becoming a black belt in a really beautiful style. I don't practice Wing Chun anymore, but I got to tell you, karate saved my life. I now am back in my Zen. I wasn't in my Zen because, fighting with the world brings you into a carnage, But I got back into karate just recently. I'm studying Kalaparate, a very ancient Indian style. And it's brought me into peace. I'm back in my peace again, and I'm excited about it, And you start to begin an abuse process going through this.
Where were you raised? Majority of your childhood coming up. Where exactly were you raised?
Well, when I worked for my father was a builder. I was working for framers and air conditioning guys and plumbers and carpenters and finish carpenters. And then I started making doors, but I did it for nothing. I remember going to Enzo Doors and saying, hey, how you doing, sir? I'd be interested in working. Oh, we don't need nobody. And I said, sir, I didn't ask for money. I just wanted to get the experience of working in a wood shop. And he looked at me and he goes, are you serious? I said, yes, sir. I'd like to just learn and know how to. So I learned how to make front doors, man. I made quite a few custom beautiful doors, carvings, I wanted to know it. I got entrenched in showing my father that I'm not a goon, a gawk.
Not a goon. But
yeah,
obviously y'all hear his accent. Y'all know he's out of New York. I want to know where in specific were you raised? And wherever you were raised, majority of you coming up, where?
Staten Island in Eltingville.
Staten Island.
I was born in St. Vincent's Hospital in Manhattan. My father, we were going to move to North Jersey because he was going to become a professional bowler. And I got to tell you, no matter how crazy my father was an ABC 300 bowler, I think 8 or 9 times. The guy was a monster. They used to close down the lanes for him, and that's when all the mobsters came in and they were betting on him. And he played up against Earl Hagler, Vinny Petraglia from Brooklyn. Brooklyn came down, and all these. And my grandfather was taking bets. This was going on in Sunset Bowling Lanes, which is now gone.
Yeah.
And you're talking about. My life was almost going to be in another situation, but then maybe he took a realization because he had 5 kids and he had a wife, so he got into the contracting business.
Wow. So wait, so Vinny went the other way, your brother, and you didn't go that way?
No, my brother became a cop.
Oh, okay.
My brother Vinny became a cop, and man, I got to tell you, you think you talk about burden. You don't even know this about me, Mook.
We're not going to dirty him up if he's still a cop. We don't want to.
No, he's not a cop anymore. He's retired. It's all over with. We could talk about anything you want. But, man, to this day has destroyed my life. And you don't know this, Mook, but all of a sudden, this guy, William Contessa, an undercover narcotics cop, was befriending me. And I was like, man, you know, what's this guy? I know this guy my whole life. Why is he being so friendly to me? So all of a sudden, we're going out, we're hanging out, we're playing ball together. He wanted to get into the semi-pro league, and then he realized that, whoa, this is like, something was off when that happened. So all of a sudden, we're in a bar, we're having a couple of drinks, and he goes like this. He goes, hey, Jim. He goes, you know where I can get any cocaine? And I backed up. I said, hey, man, whoa, bro, listen, William, you got to find another friend, look for somebody to talk to, but you got to stay away from me. And he goes, wow, Jim, no, I'm dead serious. Well, he goes back to my brother-in-law at the time, who was also a retired cop and loyal and true to the job, respectful to people, never gave out tickets to anybody. And he worked in a very bad neighborhood in Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. But a gentleman, my brother-in-law, John, is a gentleman, and his father was a great, great man. He just recently passed away. It'll be a year now in November. But so Mook, all of a sudden, I'm ready to do a medical building, a $2.5 million job. I must have spent months and months doing work on this guy's house, showing my skills. And he comes up to me, the doctor, he says, Jimmy, I want you to build my medical building. I said, Doc, absolutely. The architect sent me the plans. I gave him a price. He goes, why? He goes, Doc, I'm not here to rob you. I'm here to do a good job so I can get another job. He goes, Jimmy, that's so logical. Look, I was saving him like $400 and something thousand. He was like, this was my first biggest job I would ever get in my life at 26 years old. So all of a sudden, I get a letter from the doctor's lawyer. Jimmy, we are not proceeding with the job with you. And I'm like, what the fuck how the hell? I'm like, what's going on? All of a sudden, man, this is a really hard story because I'm known as a drug dealer. I'm known as a drug dealer because of my brother. So the doctor was at a party, and one of the undercover cops that knows about me, thinking because I had the house and the cars and I go on trips, it's got to be Jimmy with the McKenna brothers. Yeah, and I say that proudly, McKenna brothers. You two pukes, two low-life pukes, okay? So my brother Vinny is a policeman. And they said, well, and they got them on tape saying, well, don't worry, Louie will be with us. They assumed it was me. Well, the doctor says, geez, I'm having a medical building built because the undercover cop was saying, yeah, my brother-in-law is a carpenter. And I don't know, he goes, oh, I'm having my medical building built. He goes, oh, who's building your medical building? He said my name, James Louie. You know what the narc said? Oh, I wouldn't hire him to do anything. We're about to arrest him. So now to this day, people will come up to me, hey, Jim, whatever happened with that drug stuff? And I was like, wow. Oh, yeah. So now all of a sudden, my father-in-law comes up to me. They found out it was my brother, Vinny. And out of the 10th precinct, I think it was 12 other cops got arrested except my brother. My father-in-law was a first-grade detective, very influential. I did work for the DEA for free, did their blasting, set up their offices. Tommy Scott, I could mention, and what I'm mentioning is the truth. Well, my father-in-law came up to me. I was very depressed. When is it going to be my turn, Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, he comes up and he says, hey, look, we know it's your brother. What do you want to do with it? You want this to go away or you want to let him get arrested? Well, even at that point, maybe I could have cleared my name if they found out it wasn't me, but it still would have hurt my family. So you understand, Mook, if you were my blood brother.
I see where you're going, and I'm liking it. I'm liking your decision.
So I went like this to him. I said, can you make it go away? And I'll never forget my father-in-law's words. He said, call that fat fucking idiot and tell him to stay away from the fucking McKenna brothers. That's what he said.
Yeah. Sorry, Vinny, because you Jimmy brother, so I don't care what he say. Since you're his brother, I like you too. But it's funny as hell.
Yeah. So then here I am. I call up my brother. And he goes, "Oh yeah, what? Yeah, that's how we talk. Yeah, but yeah, we are. What? Yeah, listen to me, you fucking dopey you fucking jerk off." I said, "I'm gonna fucking tell you right now, you dumbass. You're with the McKenna brothers. They run with the Gambino crime family. You fucking piece of shit. They've been looking at them.
That? You think he
What?
doesn't know that? You think he didn't know that? He knew that.
Of course he knew that." And I said, this is the only time I'm going to tell you this. If you go there, you're getting arrested. Stay away. I just saved your life, you piece of shit, and you just ruined mine. Don't ever talk to me again. And I slammed the phone down. Well, when they caught the McKenna brothers trying to call him, they dislodged the tapes because you know the way the world works, Mook. It's sneaky on both sides. That nobody gives a shit about nobody but themselves. Unless you're an artist like me and a sucker who care about people more than what you put in your pocket, or what you can get out of somebody. But they can call me whatever they want, but they're not going to take my dignity and my pride.
No, Jimmy,
I'm a disciplinarian because I study karate, and I'm being a disciplinarian. I want people to be better than me, Like even when I played semi-pro ball, man, I was a monster. I had 36 sacks. I had 36 sacks.
This dude, if you don't got thick skin, don't work for him and don't fucking work with him. He don't play no fucking games. He don't settle for no less. He wants perfection from his people.
Yeah, I want you to move.
But we respect that though, Jimmy. We respect that. But now, I found it interesting that you said you decided that you wanted to talk about Louie Epolito on this episode.
Yeah.
And because I was like, I studied that shit. I know all about the dirty cop. I know where.
Okay, so
I know a lot, but I just want to know your relationship with you. Like,
wow. Okay,
let's go.
Okay, listen. Being married to and they're a great family. My ex-wife's family, they're all beautiful, and my ex-wife is even trying to help me get a house. We're friends, and it's all great, and they are all just wholesome. They're all just really awesome people. Well, my father-in-law is a detective. Louie Epolito is a detective. Mm-hmm. Where are we going twice a year? We're going to the summer games, and we're going to the winter DEA parties.
God. Wow.
So all of a sudden, my father-in-law goes, "Hey, Jim, Louie, how you doing?" We became good friends.
What was your impression of him when you first met him?
Funny guy, great guy.
You liked him? Come on, details. We need to.
No, listen, I gotta tell you, I would talk to him. Every time I saw him at the Pines.
Right, so do you remember the first time you met him and the first time you got introduced? Do you remember where you were at?
Yes, it was the Pines Hotel, upstate New York. In the Pines, that's where the DEA had their parties.
Tell that story.
So all of a sudden, we're going up to go skiing and hang out with the DEA. They have dinner and awards and all that stuff.
Who invited you? Was it
my father-in-law? Because my father-in-law, he was a first grade detective. Mm-hmm. So I got to tell you, and then when I first met Louie Epolito, we befriended each other. I got to tell you, I thought he was a great guy. He was very friendly, sincere, and we laughed. He was very funny. He was very comical, and we'd be telling war stories and this. But meanwhile, this guy that I'm talking to and think is such a nice guy, he just shot Eddie Leno in his car on the Bell Parkway.
Because it was around the same time, huh? He just
This guy just shot Eddie Leno. You shot him, and he's working with one of the most craziest people, Gas Pipe, which is man. That I met that dude.
Jimmy, we want to know your experience with him at that part. You went 10,000 miles past it. What happened? Like the upstate. How was it? Was it nice? It
was unbelievable. We had a great time. We would go to the bar.
About that day, the first day you met Louie Epolito.
Yeah,
upstate.
I got to tell you, man, we hung out. We used to drink at the bar together, and we would laugh. He always asked about me. Hey, how's Jimmy doing? I haven't seen Jimmy. And, my father would tell me, Louie Epolito was asking about you. He really likes you.
Yeah, but
So,
that's because of that first time y'all met. Y'all hit it off.
right.
That's why I want to know, like, was it a nice? I want to know the establishment. Like, what happened that night? You know what I mean? That day.
Yeah. Listen, we were hanging out. He goes, Jim, come, let's go have a drink. Come, let's have a drink with me. Hey, where you doing? Sit at my table, at dinner tonight. And I sat at his table. Me and my wife had dinner with him,
Okay.
And
So
then after that, I'd be hanging out. And, I think at the time I had my son and my daughter wasn't born. And then all of a sudden.
We doing that show right now, Billy.
Yeah, then all of a sudden he asked me to, hey, listen, they're having a big detective thing, and what the hell was his plan? What was his name? Who was the comedian? I'm trying to think of his name. He just passed away recently. He did Caddyshack, too.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Fucking.
Yeah, his name. Could you believe I can't?
Somebody, I don't know his name, but yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I can't think of his name. So anyway. I actually go up to where they in Queens, we at the World's Fair, that restaurant they had that was open. We went up there and Louie Epolito, I'm sitting with Louie Epolito, and I know this guy.
I like this guy. You really liked him.
I liked him. I'm going to tell you. He was very, very respectful to me.
Your wife liked his wife? Or
what's that?
Right? So your wife liked his wife, obviously. They got
Well, it wasn't like that. No, it wasn't like that. It was just like me and him. It wasn't like a wife thing. We never went out to dinner, but I hung every time I saw him at the DEA parties, which was 4 or 5 times a year. I always seen him. Once in a while, I talked to him on the phone.
Wow. That's crazy. So, like, that's why I'm still curious. I want to know the details about this motherfucker.
So all of a sudden,
foul motherfucker.
All of a sudden, he moves to Vegas.
But
so
you didn't know why? Come on, you knew why. You knew because
no, I didn't. I got to be honest with you. No,
it wasn't out like that yet. I guess
not till Gas Pipe, the head of the Lucchese family, it's ratted on him. Nobody had no idea about Louie and Vincent Caracappa. They had no idea about him.
Damn. So when you were hanging, having a great time, he just murdered the kid in the car or whatever.
He murdered Eddie Leno. And I knew Frankie Leno. I knew Eddie Leno. I didn't know Eddie Leno. I knew Frankie Leno. I knew Joey Francolino, who was his, what?
You know Frankie is his brother?
Yeah. Frank was his brother. Frank was a great guy too. He was very respectful and very nice to me.
So why did he murder Frankie?
Gas Pipe was hiring Louie Epolito and Vincent Caracappa, and he was paying them to do dirty work. And they became hitmen. So he wanted Frankie Leno out. So he hired Caracappa and Louie Epolito to kill this guy, and they killed him on the Belt Parkway. They pulled him over. They put their light up.
That's crazy.
Went right up to him, shot him in the head, and shot him in the body 4 or 5 times, and drove off. So next minute, my father-in-law says, "Hey, Louie just was asking about you, and he moved to Vegas. I said, "Oh, he finally retired." He put on weight. He became really heavy. He had a pretty nice body in the late '80s and the '90s, but he was a weightlifter. But so he moved to Vegas, and I never heard of him. And the next minute on the news.
So wait, I thought y'all hit it off. So when he moved, you didn't call him? You didn't?
No. Yeah, Yeah, it's like when he left and I was busy with my business, he wasn't around. I didn't see him at the DEA parties anymore. I didn't see him at these affairs. So, my father said, "Hey, have you heard from Louie?" He goes, "Nah, he's all the way in Vegas. You don't hear once they move out of state, Jimmy." And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I miss talking to him." That's exactly, I remember telling my father what happened.
I believe you. I know you.
Because he was a great guy. But when I heard that, I said, damn, man. I was blown away. I said, this
So
is,
I don't understand like how you could befriend a guy that's so pompous and so stupid to where he
yes,
went and
but
just to get
but
the
I got to tell you,
clout chasing and
he's
blew up
not that.
and fucking got his guy locked up and all that other
Listen,
shit. This
Mook.
guy, he upset me. That whole story was like, because
Yeah,
I,
Mook. I got it,
I'm not
Mook.
a
I
cop
want to tell
either,
you.
and I'm like, oh, mob cops good. They got away with it. Perfect. I
Yeah,
don't care. I don't give a fuck. But this dumbass is so fucking pompous and so
Mike.
arrogant
Yeah,
that he
but wait
wants
a
to
minute.
go on TV for the clout. I
No,
just
but
can't see that. But go ahead.
no, Mook. I know what you're saying, but guess what? I know dentists and I know doctors and I know pharmacists, smart people, but yet you got to remember there's something very logical called common sense, which they don't have. And you got to understand, even my ex-partner, Jules Nassau, I was in my car and he said, Jimmy, you want to come in? And I said, no, Jules, I don't dance with the devil, and I don't. And that's why those people have a lot of respect for me, because they know don't fuck with me because I'm not going to take their shit. They know it. I will run them over with my truck. I'll go full blast. I'll kill them.
Cut it out. Allegedly, he won't do nothing. Go ahead.
No, anybody hurts me,
Let's go past that.
So then all of a sudden, you got to realize that he's not a dummy. He's just a follower. Leaders. You're talking about leaders, Mook. You could be the smartest guy in the world and be a follower, but you can be the smartest guy in the world and be a leader. If somebody asked me to do that, you want to be, I'd say, get the hell out of here. What are you, nuts? That's like somebody asking me to go to January 6th.
I hear you.
There was doctors going to January 6th, but yet where are their scruples? You could be smart, but there's an arrogance you have to understand. Some guys like to play that part and like to, and you got to remember, Gas Pipe was offering them, not, this is big money. This is big money.
And they were broke ass cops. Cops don't get a lot of money. So Jimmy, wait a minute. Before we get into Frankie Calie, this is my boy. He's a big supporter of the channel. James Hudson out of LA. He got a question for you. And if you do, if you don't, we'll talk about that on another show. But I'm gonna let him ask this question. Did you know Philadelphia mob boss Nicky Scarfo?
Oh man. Okay.
Don't do it, Jimmy. Just because we gotta save that for another channel, for another show. But go ahead, answer. I'm sorry.
I met him twice.
They're gonna be mad at me.
I met him twice at a big affair. And shortest guy I ever saw in my life. Tiny. I almost missed him when I looked over him because I'm 6'1.5", and he's got.
Jimmy, a big dude.
Yeah, he's small, but I met him, but I don't know him. Never talked to him. Never had a conversation with him. I did meet him.
For sure. So another dude you talking about out of Staten Island, Frankie Calie.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is crazy stuff. I think he's in the can right now, right?
No, he's dead.
He's dead. Okay.
Yeah, that kid killed him and ran over him in his house.
Oh, okay.
But
that happened recently.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into it.
When I had my restaurant, I think I must have met every swinging mobster on the face of the earth. Come in there.
Mm-hmm.
And this is my partner, Andrea, the piece of garbage that he is. And I say that proudly because I don't really care, because that's what he is. Mm. And this piece of garbage didn't want to cook anymore. Well,
I'm sorry. They're going to hate me too, but what was the name of your restaurant and where was it located?
Nouveau. The name of my restaurant was Nouveau, and it was on Staten Island, right on New York Lane. Beautiful place. I had Reuben Wilson coming there. I had Reuben Wilson is probably the greatest jazz organist I ever met with. He actually was a sparring partner for Floyd Patterson. Greatest guy I ever met, and I jammed with him. Man, in my restaurant. Nobody could take that away from me, and you could look him up. So I had this restaurant. Andrea wants to leave, and we have this big sit down. I'm talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. There was 2 hitmen there, guys that were 2 murderers.
Wow.
And there was Frankie Calie sitting right next to me. So my partner's there and Andrea's there. And I'm talking to them like a man. I'm not Rob Spoley was shitting his pants. My partner, Rob Spoley, the piece of little fat weasel that he is, robbed my restaurant over 100,000. I say that proudly. I said the only thing I could do with him is roll him down the street in the winter and watch the biggest snowball be created. You fat bastard. Well, anyway, that's besides the point. Yeah, he's a thief. He robbed my restaurant. I'm going to tell you a story leading up to more mobsters. So we're actually having a sit down in my restaurant. I'm not proud to say that, but it's my restaurant. They want to all come in. They're doing it.
Come on, you just a guy that got a business and you just doing your thing, basically. And hey,
yeah. So Frankie Calie sitting there going, and this is true story. He's sitting right next to me. He's looking. He goes, you think it's right? You didn't show him the books? I said, Frank, nobody was hiding the books from anybody. Did Andrea ask to look at the books?
Now you can. I want to know the history of that now. So y'all
okay. Well, Andrea was with Frankie Calie. I was not.
You gotta go back to that. Like,
okay. Right? So here's what happened. When Andrea didn't want to cook no more, he wanted his mother's money back, and I said that ain't happening. So he called Frankie Calie, and then Frankie Calie called for a sit down. John Rizzo was there, and John Rizzo's cousin was bartending and he was robbing the bar, so I fired him. So John Rizzo was there because I fired his cousin. And man, let me tell you, this is crazy. So it's a big sit down in my restaurant with all these fucking morons. Okay. So all Frankie Calie said through the whole thing, and it kept repeating himself. And I would go to my partner. I said, Rob, did you deny Andre of seeing the books? He go. I said, don't be scared. Let me know. I'm sitting with the biggest mobsters in New York City, and I'm talking to them like I'm a real man. I'm a man. Be careful. So I actually told the guy that shot Curtis Lewa in the cab, that guy from the Guardian Angels, he was sitting right there. And he goes, listen, these are all my friends. And I said, okay, that's good. I said, don't disrespect me because I didn't do nothing to you and I'm not in your world, so don't disrespect me. He goes, are you serious? I said, dead serious. So Frankie Calie, I said to Rob Spoley, the fat piece of shit partner, I said, Rob, did you deny Andre of seeing the books? I said, he goes, no. I said, don't be scared. Yes or no? Yes or no? And I got loud. And I said, Andre, what are you talking about? You're making trouble? You're shooting your mouth? He goes, oh, so you kept the books from? So I said, Frankie. I said to Frankie Calie, who was a captain at the time. He wasn't the Godfather. He was a captain. I said, Frank, let me ask you a question. Do you always repeat yourself? How many times would you like me to answer the same question? See, that's their way of intimidating you. But I taught karate and Zen. I'm going to overpower you before you think you're going to overpower me. So and Frankie was shocked that I said that to him. So I look over and John Rizzo go, you disrespected me. And I said, Mr. Rizzo, I said, can you please explain to me how I did? And Frankie Calie goes, oh, so you're disrespecting everybody. I said, Frank, excuse me, let the man speak. That's what I said to Frankie Calie. So, well, what's the situation with my cousin? I came right out with it. I said, your cousin was fired. I fired him because he was robbing me. That's why, John.
Man, they're not used to dealing with real men.
They're not used to dealing with a guy standing up for them. No, they're used to people. Oh, I'll get you the money. I'll get you the money. Okay, I'll pay. All right, I'll do it.
Never mind.
Do you know I smacked a guy in the face? Okay, I got to tell you a story when I was building the ICP building. What I went through there. That's another story. That's another 30 mobsters. But so there's 8 captains, 8 Gambino crime family captains in my restaurant. No lie. And they're all trying to jump on me and get to me. And, we should take over the restaurant. And I went like this. Nobody's taken over nothing. I said, unless you want to get on a hammer and apron and you put your money up, because my money's in this place and I'll die for my money. They looked at me like I was completely out of my fucking mind. They thought I was out of my mind, Mook. And I said, gentlemen, I've had just about enough of this. Frankie was Calie. I forgot his last name. I actually said Calie. Okay, Frankie, it was a pleasure meeting you. John, it was a pleasure. Yeah, no problem. Gentlemen, I thank you very much. So in the same interim, in the same day, a guy tells this girl, Claudine, that they were all over me. I was acting like a wussy. This is what they said so they wouldn't look bad.
You know,
so
yeah, okay,
yeah,
deal with that. That's
and
all.
I went like this, and I went, yeah, Claudine, really? That's unbelievable. So now this is a girl that wanted to go out with me, and I refused her. So she was tied up with two mobsters that were in the same sanction, and his name was Ronnie One Arm. I don't know why they have these with Joey Two Times, Jimmy Nichols, because he plays with Nichols. You know, these fucking weirdo son of a bitches. So this guy Ronnie One Arm, and Claudine says, "Oh, so you weren't afraid with Ronnie One Arm?" I said, "I don't even know who he is, Claudine." He said, "Well, he said he came into his restaurant with a bunch of goons, and he was slapping you around." I said, "With his one arm?" She goes, "Oh, that's not funny." I said, "Yes, it is funny. How is a guy going to smack me as one arm?" So I said, Claudine, yeah, and this is a true story. I said, Claudine, how is this guy going to take me out if he has one dead arm? I said, and let me tell you something, Claudine. If I met him, his new name would be Ronnie No Arms and Half Legs. So she says, well, if he ever heard that, I said, you can tell him I said that. And I invite him to come see me in my restaurant. And that's a true story. Did he ever come to my restaurant? No. You know why? Because they don't want to take a chance of being embarrassed. And I knew that, you know.
So Frankie Calie, what's your final impression on him? He's rest in peace or whatever.
He stepped into a family. He thought he was above the law. He thought he was invincible. And a kid that he disrespected over his niece wound up going to his house and shooting him right in front of his house in a prestigious Toad Hill neighborhood. You know Toad Hill. We worked on that backyard. Man. Yeah. Right, Frankie Calie only lived around the corner, Mook. He only lived right around the corner.
That mansion right next to Castellano House.
Yep.
Right next to the White House.
Yep, that's right. And I worked on the Castellano, man. I knew Paul. I met Paul quite a few times.
Another episode.
Yeah, I could tell you about that one too.
Another episode. So wait, you were still going in on Frankie Calie. You didn't give us a final.
Yeah, and then here you go, and you know, he wanted to see me go out and all the shit, but by wishing bad, I said to Frankie, I said, Frank, karma is a very dangerous thing, and karma is very strong with me. And that's all. That was the last words I said to him. And the next thing I read in the paper is that some kid shot him about 7 times and then ran over him. You know.
So somebody hated him.
Oh, bro, he pissed that kid off. The kid, my daughter knew that kid. Wow. My daughter met that kid because he lives in Jersey. My daughter went to school with his brother, and when she would hang out at parties, she saw him. She knew him when he was younger. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a small world, Mook. It's a very small world.
It's insane. Wow.
You know, but I saw a lot of.
I think we were working in Staten Island or somewhere when that shit happened with homie. That just happened recently, right? Not long ago.
Yeah, it was after, it was a year and a half after we did that yard job.
Yep, I was working out there and I got the shit. And they
now look at the beautiful job I did. That guy never finished paying me. Blamed me for all the problems in the backyard, and I did nothing wrong. And that's another mob tale, but yeah, I'm done, Luke. I'm done with these animals. I don't even want to see them. You know, I remember my brother, one of my brothers.
Sorry, but not just that, but with the gangs and with the Crips and Bloods and the mobsters and the Irish gangs and this and that. You dealing with people that knows each other, that's related to each other, that's good people, bad people intertwined. But I just hate when people try to put them all in one box like they're all evil and they all know. It's just how life is nowadays, and it's just it's some things that human beings are getting through evolving and evolution and stuff like that.
Of course, man.
Innocent people getting hit and all that type of stupid shit, I don't agree with. But that thing I like about the mob is innocent people don't hardly get hit dealing with them. Now, when you're dealing with these new things,
what they do is try to grab innocent people so they can get money from them. That's what the mob does. You open up a store. Hey, I want to let you know this is my neighborhood. If you ever have problems, no, I'm not going to have no problems. Next minute, hey, go down there, firebomb the front of the store, break all the windows.
Yeah, but that's old shit. They ain't doing
that.
No,
but Mook, it's still around. It's still around. They just do it a little more secretive. But that's their mentality. They might change their direction and their way of doing stuff, but the mentality is still there. You have what's now young punk gangsters. They're all shooters. There's a lot of people missing and disappearing that were related to gangs that nobody's seen them anymore. They just disappeared because they were ratting out on people. Now they're going back to the 30s where it's more secretive. They're getting into legitimate businesses. They're grabbing legitimate companies. They're grabbing a guy with a construction license, say, hey, if you don't help us, that shit still goes on, believe me.
Yeah,
I know 2 guys I punched in the face because they were acting like sissies. Oh, you mean Jimmy? A guy never grabbed you? Never in my life. I said, grab me. I said, they'll grab you because you're a sissy. I said, you should throw your ass in jail. That's what you should. You know what? You would be one of the bitches.
Yeah.
I said, but no, but a lot, bro, 90% of the men in this world are sissies. They're not real men. Trust me when I tell you. There was a guy.
I'm agreeing with you too, though.
Yeah, listen, I was building a building. That's another story. Ask me about the ICP building. Holy moly.
Right, we got time we got some time. Let's get into that.
So there's one concrete guy, Eddie Valanza, was a guy that him and his brother they killed about 5 guys and they chopped their bodies up and they robbed a garbage truck to throw the bodies in. Well, they got pulled over by the cops and the sanitation cops. They were a little drunk and all they said, hey, we didn't know we just robbed it. We didn't know what was in there. But meanwhile, they put the bodies in there.
Wow.
So I met this guy at my restaurant. He got his hooks in this concrete guy. Mm-hmm. And we're in the backyard. There's about 8 of them. You got any other work here? This is what some of the old time. You got any other work? This is the disheveled life they live, that they got to grab money from people so they can sit and eat their fried souffle and their espresso. Bunch of fucking pieces of mother. No, that's okay. So anyway, the concrete guy there's a bellow that has to go up so the rainwater doesn't go down the ramp. So I wouldn't pay him the last remaining $2,500. There was an engineer that failed it. And so the guy's trying to tell him, the guy, Vinny Velasquez that killed those guys in the garbage truck goes, looks good to me. And he's laughing, like looking at his friends. And I go, well, it would look a lot better if it was done right. So he looked at me like I was nuts. I said, hey, listen, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. And the concrete contractor that did the job said, Vince, he's right. He's right. I had to put this bolster up, and the guys didn't do it. He came in, he chopped it up, he did it. The engineer inspected it, cut me the check. I cut him the check. But yeah, brother. I had a guy trying to yell at me. I wanted to reach over and beat the living crap out of him. I would have knocked him. I would have killed him in 2 seconds. I actually hated him so much I wanted to twist his head off his body, and I could do that.
Why did you hate him so much? What did he do?
He's coming down at me. Yeah, who did the planting on the outside of the building? Who did the? I said, I don't know. The city hires the people. Oh, the city hires them. It wound up being Dragonetti, his friend that he wanted to get do the job, and Dragonetti did the job.
Wow.
And meanwhile, he's like trying to talk down to me, yelling at me like I didn't give the landscaping out. He went back and asked Dragonetti. He goes, you did the planting over there? He goes, yeah, it's a city. It's a city. Jimmy has nothing to do with that. I met Jimmy there.
But he's coming at you.
Yeah, they play a game to try to overpower you. And if you don't play
when he came in there yelling, yeah, what did you do? What was your
I goes, well, you're doing good money here. I said, hey, you want to make some money? You want to make some money? His mother-in-law was a detective. He's a mobster, and his mother-in-law is a detective. Get a load of that. And she worked with my father-in-law. So I said, hey, absolutely. So you got to give us a piece of the action here. I would love to. There's a couple of hammer and aprons in the back of my pickup truck. Please go and grab them, and let's get going.
Yeah, right.
He goes, what did you just say to me? I said, you want money here. Money here is money earned. So you're going to earn your money just like I earned my money. I ain't giving you shit.
Wow. So
I could tell you a story. Man, I dealt with these people my whole life.
What did he do?
He left.
He just left? I
never heard from him again.
Yeah, man. I don't want you to get in trouble, so be careful of whatever you talk about.
Hey, look, Luke, let me explain something to you. You know what? This is past tense, and mentioning a guy's name ain't going to be a deliverance, especially somebody that I can't stomach. I'll mention their name because they gave me that right to. Because I'm not a chump or a baby for anybody, and I don't have no respect for any of these people. You know, I could tell you stories that might curl your hair. What I went through, I had guns put to my head.
We're gonna get into that mob true tales. This is Jimmy's show, and we're gonna get into that. So Frankie, he did wrong. He was moving wrong, basically. And Louie Epolito, you liked him. He was super charming, but you didn't read.
He was just a nice guy. How the hell do you know somebody?
Signs of him being that, like. You gotta be able to read them type of signs, Jimmy. You were slipping. I ain't gonna lie. You were slipping with Louie Epolito. Because you didn't read nothing on him. You didn't. You did smell it, and you didn't give a fuck because you were so charming and cool, basically.
No, I only knew him before any of that ever came out. I didn't know. Nobody knew of that.
You said you were hanging with him, and you said he just murdered.
No, I was not hanging out with Frankie Calie. He came to my restaurant representing my chef. Andrea, that's how I met Frankie Calie.
You said you found him charming, and you said all the while.
No, I didn't find Frankie Calie charming. I found
Louie.
Louie.
Not Frankie Calie, Louie Epolito. We talking.
Oh no, he was a great guy. He really was a great guy, and even my father, a lot of people liked him. He was one of those
reading these signs and knowing what's going on with people. You didn't read. You didn't. I know we're not perfect. We're human. I'm just asking you honestly. Did you not sense anything up with him?
Nobody did. Mook, you got to remember, he is smart because he's able to hide all that emotion and all the shit that he was doing. He was calculating that. That was calculated by him. But in real life, look at the guy Kabinski. Remember that guy from Jersey, Kabinski, working for the mob? He was killing people with cyanide.
Let's get back to Louie. That's another mob tales. What did Louie pull up in? What was he driving? How did he look?
No, he wasn't. He was driving a regular car. I think he had. I know his wife had a Subaru because I only met her once, and I mean, saying hello, of course, the times I see her. But she had a Subaru, but he had an old Cadillac. He didn't have a new car. He had he was very, he wasn't overdressed. He was very humble guy. He was very friendly. Jimmy, he was very sweet and talkative. But who the hell knows behind closed doors what somebody's doing? He's hiding this. But the minute you find out.
I totally see it, but I just want to make sure my boy didn't sense it. We could be honest.
No, you know what, Mook? You know what was weird? I got to tell you, you're making me remember something. I said to him one time, and this is what I mean, the irony of what I'm saying. His partner became paranoid and didn't attend the DEA parties. I never met Caracappa. I never met him. Don't know him. I knew Louie, but Louie was able to, but Caracappa, even my father-in-law said he became very silent and secretive because a lot of people can put on a mask and cover that world they're in,
Yeah, for sure. Somebody asked, did you know Sammy the Bull? My boy, actually, James Hudson, not somebody.
Holy shit. Holy shit. Let me tell you something. Okay. Now, Sammy the Bull lived on Staten Island, right?
Wow.
Okay. And now he lived right at the corner of the expressway off of Richmond Avenue. His house was, I don't know how he lived there. His house was right off of the highway. They could have went in over the fence and then took off. But I was asked to go to his house because he saw a job I did, a dome ceiling with painted angels I did for another wise guy up on the hill. And I get a phone. I didn't know who he was because at the time, he wasn't in the limelight with John Gotti. This was 1986, I think it was. So this was a year before. It was a year before they killed Paul Castellano. So I didn't know who the hell Sammy the Bull was. Sammy Gravano. I only know. So I called him Mr. Gravano. I went to his house. Mr. Gravano, how you doing? And I was just.
What's your first impression of him? When did you meet him?
Very sneak. The guys that he was with, nasty. Like they look like mobsters. Yeah, I walked in. I felt the evil in the room. And Sammy the Bull was a cold, methodical person. I seen that right away. He goes, yeah, you did that dome on Toad Hill. I was in that house. I was going to buy that house. Yeah. This is where I want. Can I put a dome here? I got this wide open thing. Can I put a dome? I said, absolutely. What'd you make that out of? Plaster? Now, he's in construction. He's trying to get information out of me. And I could have guaranteed you he probably.
I'm sorry, Jimmy. But did you know? At this point, did you know who he was?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. Sammy the Bull wasn't known then because Sammy the Bull only became known after he killed Castellano in Sparks. After he had Castellano killed.
You didn't know these are wise guys.
No. Okay. So at the time, listen to this.
But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, it's okay. This was way before he became the whatever he was, the underboss and all that crap. I'm the underboss. You're the beginning boss. I'm the end boss. I'm the bottom boss.
I cut off a good story. You had it going, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, so here I go. I know, but I'm just saying, this is all before. Nobody knew who this guy was. So all of a sudden, I give him a price, and I was very high because I really didn't want to do the job. And he goes, no problem. He goes, I'll give you an even 30,000. I said, oh, great. I said, I'll do a more heavy detail on the pilasters coming from the round curved trim. I was going to do a sick job. So all of a sudden, my farmer goes, my farmer, John Voto, God rest his soul, what a man. He goes, where were you the other day? I said, where was I the other day? And I gave him the address. I forget the address. It was years ago. And he goes, he's a fucking killer? I said, he seemed like a ruffian. I said, he goes, oh, well, actually somebody, one of the detectives reached out and said, that kid is with us. You don't go near him because I would have done the job. He would have never paid me. Because he never paid anybody. He would do the job and kill, and then make the person disappear. So that is my Sammy the Bull Gravano story, man. Let me tell you, I could have been dead from that. I would have never known you, Mook. I would have been victim number 39 or something.
You had a house on Toad Hill and stuff.
No, he didn't live on Toad Hill. He lived. This is why it's very strange.
How's his house? Was it big? Was it small?
No, it wasn't. No, it was a regular two ranch house, like the low ranches. It was just on I think maybe a 50 by 100, and he had a big fence, and it was right along an expressway, right along a highway. That's why they didn't understand.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he did not. He went to look at a house. He got my number from the job I did on Toad Hill. He went to look at the house.
My friend, right along the expressway. Come on. So
yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I don't know why, but then, he moved to wherever he lives now in Arizona, and he wound up doing the same thing,
Mm-hmm. Shout out James Hudson, my boy. Yeah, for sure. You see how my boy had the question. He answered it, please. He's a real Staten Island native, and we got some history for y'all. So tune in to Mob Tales, and shout out to Shut Up and Just Laugh, that movie. It's a funny.
That's a funny movie, isn't it, bro?
It's gonna get picked up. It's gonna go somewhere, and we're gonna redo the whole shit because it's so hilarious and add some more shit to it. But y'all check that shit out. Shut Up and Just Laugh, for real. And y'all see that shit on YouTube for sure. You feel me?
Terrible, right? Man.
That's the name of it. Shut Up and Just Laugh.
Shut Up and Just Laugh movie. The God. Full movie.
Full movie, yo.
It's free, man.
Hilarious. I ain't gonna lie. If you don't like it, look good. Leave a comment, say you don't like it. But a lot of y'all don't like it because it got a lot of good shit on it. It's funny as fuck, hitting certain topics. So yeah, Big Jimmy, the boss. I fuck with him when it comes to karate or whatever I need to learn about the artistry, the music shit. And
I was showing Avery. I was showing your son Avery's karate moves.
My boy Avery doing this thing in football right now, Brooklyn Chiefs. Shout out to that and whatever. But what I'm saying is, yeah. Stay tuned. We got some shit for y'all for sure. Mob True Tales. Thank y'all.